Hi, everybody, and welcome to this week's Writers Chat. And this is where we like to gather together as writers, talk about all things writing for writers and by writers. And we're really, really glad to see so many of our buddies and writing companions here today. And if you're watching replay, we just always thank you for taking the time to work on your writer's craft. And we think we got a good topic today. It's something I don't know a lot about, so I'm all excited to hear about it. My name's Jean Wise. I'm one of your co-hosts. I'm gathered today by two of our co-hosts, Melissa and Bethany. So we're really glad to see you guys here today. And I'm going to turn it over to Bethany to introduce our special guest today and what our topic is. So welcome, everybody. Bethany?
Okay, so I'm super excited to introduce our guest, Amber Weigand-Buckley, and she has over 23 years of award-winning experience with magazines, and she is the founding editor and art director of Leading Hearts. If you have seen that online, and a lot of people in here are with ASA, the ASA group, and it's part of that, and it is beautiful. And I will tell you that Amber does some of the most amazing design work I have ever seen. It's just quality and amazing. So I'm super excited to have her talk to us about how to maybe start the magazines or things that we need to know to work on it. This was, Amber, we had requests for this type of chat today, and so we're excited to discuss and learn about it. But in the session today, she's going to go over some basic checkpoints to consider when you're crafting your publication from the ground up, which is exactly what we need. And then she's also going to give strategies and resources for creating an e-publication on a budget. Amen. I love the B word. So she's also the co-host of Something to Celebrate on the Axe Media Group every Tuesday at 9 a.m. Central. So Tuesdays are busy days for you, and I will copy those links into the chat right now. But Amber, so excited to see you here, and I know everyone's just like chomping at the bit to figure out how to do something like that on their own. So thank you for taking time out of your busy Tuesday.
Well, thank you so much, Bethany, for for inviting me. I wanted to just kind of give a little bit of a background to me and the magazine world and why I think it's such a beautiful thing. I got my journalism degree from Evangel College back in the 1900s. And I thought I was going to be a newspaper journalist, but I loved story. I loved story so much that I never wanted to let that go. And I think that there's a beauty in story with my personality, which is a bit ADHD. So magazine and story kind of went really well together. So in 1996, I went to work right out of college, fresh out of college. I went to work for a youth magazine, which even heightened my ADHD and accentuated it a bit. And I went to work for the National Youth Ministries magazine for the Assemblies of God, and was there 16 years, worked my way up. We actually, if this dates me at all, the first year that I was on course, we created a website. Isn't that exciting? We created a website. So that kind of shows the kind of traversing from the first print piece to actually the online world. And then in, let's see, when was that? In 2010, the magazine industry hit a real hurt period where everything was going online. Everything was and budgets were being cut. Magazines weren't making money. And people were saying, oh, we need to just get rid of print. We need to just go to digital publications. So in that, I was trying to figure out, okay, we've been this print magazine to go into 160,000 people. We didn't want to hurt that, but we wanted to leverage our marketplace to go to this digital generation and also save our budget, our bottom line. So when that happened, I lost a half of my 5-person staff, and then we went to a print print digital hybrid. So I'm very familiar with print digital hybrids and how that goes together. So we went, and that was about in 2010, and then in 2000, actually 2010, and then in 2013, we traversed that, and we got Digital Publication of the Year, and it was from the Evangelical Press, and that was the same year that they closed the magazine down. So I was always said, never win too many awards, because that is
Oh no!
never get too big for your britches, because that's right before the cut. So it was exciting, and it was an incredible kind of transition in my career, because I thought, oh my goodness, I love magazines and my dream is dying. And I think that print and everything like that it was just this big hole, and I was like, God, what do you want me to do? What, where can I go? What can I do? And I ended up actually having a mental hiatus for about a year, which was God's gift to me. And then I started a job in fundraising, which was not fun at all. There's a dichotomy in that word. But that's when a few months into that fundraising career, and I was praying, I said, God, I love writing magazines so much. I love writing magazines, and you have given me this great big network of people and relationships, and I feel like my hands have been chopped off. I feel like my hands are gone. I feel like my head's gone. I'm not focusing. I'm not doing the work that you've called me to do. So all of a sudden I'm like, okay, what's next? Am I going to be stuck? So that was the moment I told God, God, if you give me opportunity, I don't care if I get a paycheck or not, I'll do it. If I get opportunity to do a magazine again, I'll do it. And those are the prayers you don't want to pray, because then you'll end up doing stuff without a paycheck, in which I know that all of you authors do that, and you do stuff without a paycheck.
Like you're actually paying them. They're not getting the money, but like we were just talking about it, like with all the marketing and stuff with the book. Oh, I got a book, and they're like, oh, I'm actually underneath. Like,
I'm paying to do this.
Yeah.
So that was exciting. I know that there's this saying that if you do what you like and you get paid for it, it's a profession. If you do what you like and you don't get paid for it, you're an artist. So if that gives you any concession, you are all artists. It's very bohemian. Let's just go with that. So Linda Evans Shepard, who is the founder of ASA, she called me up. She said, Amber, she said, I really want to start a women's magazine, and I want it. I know that you are, you've stopped doing on-course. What would you think if what would you think about helping me start this? And of course I said yes, because, yeah, but, and then she said, but we don't have money, which is that qualifying statement after yes. Oh. So that was an exciting period, but in this digital world, I found out that is, God gave an extra dispensation of grace when I don't know if it's the extra dispensation of grace or the extra dispensation of my crazy that said, yes, sure, let's do it. And let's do it in my spare time of 40 hours a week, and having a house with 3 girls and my husband who is legally blind, and just doing everything. So I was like, oh yes, that's exactly what I want to do. So naturally, when we transitioned, we were like, okay, we can do this. I have a network. We have the ASA network, which is an amazing network of content. So I want to tell you right here, ladies, the trick in doing a magazine, a digital magazine, is not doing all the work. And if you want to do all the work, God bless you, you're crazier than me. Really taking value in network is extremely important for any type of magazine endeavor. Really taking advantage of anyone who is jiving along with what your heart and your ministry is, and kind of moving forward in that. That's so essential. Let's just say magazines, if a book is a singular effort, which I doubt that is ever a singular effort, magazines is definitely a teamwork co-op effort, even if you have to pick free people along the sides of you, and editors and art people and stuff. Don't ever go on your own and just do it unless you're really, really just wanting to kill time, unless you're retired. No, well, actually, I wouldn't even say that, because I think the beauty of magazines as opposed to books is it is a group effort. It's a team effort, and it's unified messaging to pretty much a generation that doesn't take content in and sit down and read a book for like 2 to 3 hours. It's really, a really good read time on a magazine is 10 minutes. That's a good read time. Now, how many of you can read a book in 10 minutes? I doubt that, unless it's like a children's book, a board book. Those are nice. But if you're wanting to take the beauty of who you are as an author and dilute it down into pill form and direct people in the missional values and goals that you have for your ministry and your writing, that's exactly what creating magazines all about. Now, I know that a lot of you are bloggers, and raise your hand, you blog. Well, you're already doing a mini magazine one at a time. I consider myself an author because I have over 1,000 memes. So those are, I could collect those and just make a book out of picture books and quotes. So blogging is kind of one of the, if you really love to blog, and let's qualify this, if you really love to blog and you, number one, feel like your content is all over the place or lost, or you don't have that aesthetic value of your blog, that you would like to have it all pulled together, e-zines are amazing to do that. It's like a journal, almost a time focused journal of articles, thought, stuff, which is kind of in a way it is like a blog. When I was doing my artsy thing and I couldn't do a magazine, I was doing my own, I called it a blogazine because I didn't have the aptitude to actually get on the web every couple of days and write something. So I created a blogazine, and I'm probably I should copyright that. That was just fun things I wanted to put together in and I actually called it Paint and Puddles, because I wanted to do something that was that was like a literary type journal that had the best of art and my poetry and my, where do you go and you put that together? And now I look back at those little blogazines and I'm like, these are like just kind of nuggets of who I am wrapped into a digital magazine format. So it's a kind of a cool way to combine the best of digital. Now, how many of you guys like to do design type things? Do any of you like to do design type things? Not really. How many of you like
that? Is a very creative thing, and I think writers are also creative. So I think that's how it kind of rolls together.
Yeah. to me, I love to look at photos. Do you guys look at photos and get inspiration from photos? That is really kind of an essence of what I like to blog about. I'll get inspiration. I'll pick a photo and I'll just start writing about it. That it's connected to my heart and my ministry, or what I feel that God's called me to do outside of that. So a lot of times photos will give you a nice little jumping off point to blogs, or even writing something and finding pretty photos. I love to pair those two together. And I think that's the beauty of Ezines, because you can pull in a photo that looks really amazing and you can pair it with just amazing thought. And there's something about the way that the photography and article, I call them, dance together on a page, that really helps us kind of pull thought and feeling, and just the photos just pull people in a very instant way. And then when you put the printed word beside it, it's just amazing how that all kind of pairs together. And that's why I love magazines so much.
Oh, I love, first of all, I love your story. And I love kind of the inspiration and encouragement we have with this. I love that. We got a couple questions in the chat.
Sure.
And what I think would be a really good one to start with is, if we would want to do one of these, is there some basic software, or what's the first couple steps that we need to be aware of to start like this?
Well, first couple of things to start with. Okay, so what are you going to write about? You know, and a lot of people, you are, as authors, you already know kind of why you want to write about. You have some sort of a missional vision, some sort of an elevator pitch type thing. Mm-hmm. So I would take advantage of all that is your ministry and pull in that to whatever magazine you're creating. I would also, the first thing that's important to any magazine is to have some sort of a missional direction you're going. So write a mission statement, write a single sentence. If you already have one, that's amazing. But I love this thing called mind mapping. Have you ever done mind mapping? Okay. So what you want in everything, in every article that's represented, you want continuity, and you want to be able to trace your purpose, the article back to the purpose in which you're putting the whole piece together. So that is very important. So in that, you also want to make sure that when you're creating a magazine, that you're creating something with a unique name. So you'll want to search the web, you want to do your research. Don't create another, Vogue magazine or anything like that. You want to be careful. So you want to do your research before you start any ezine, because you don't want copyright infringement coming after you, because that's the last thing you want to do when you're creating a free magazine. The third thing is you want to decide, is this something that you're going to do for more of a type of fun thing? Are you going to try to market it, or you're going to try to, so that is important to know these things ahead of time. Just like you're marketing your book, you want to have that research in your mind that you want to be able to, and that comes way before actually formatting anything. So research, and then that research will come into, that'll connect in with, okay, what kind of magazine would you want to be in the marketplace? And I know Bethany had talked a lot about this. I had her as a guest a couple weeks ago on my mentoring thing, about really doing your research, really finding the format people want, looking, you don't want to go out there as a magazine and be totally different from any type of format that's out there that it seems very confusing or stuff. So I brought a paper version of Leading Hearts out here. We do this once a year for our conferences, and just kind of a basic thing that you'll find in magazines is, I'm gonna pull over to this, is you'll have features, which are kind of unique. I know you can't see that very well. You'll have features, which are more of like a two-page or a spread type thing, that are unique to maybe an issue, a topic you're addressing, something that's focused in on your purpose. This one was leaders living above the chaos. So we had a lot of two-page spreads about that. And then you want to, so features, hard things that you're, and then we have the columns. So those are single page articles that you're having every time. They can be written by the same people. I know this, we always have a column by, pull to one. We always have a column by Linda, and it's a prayer article every single time, every single issue. We try to keep it in actually the same place. Believe it or not, in magazine, the best thing you can give people is familiarity. You don't want to like redesign every time you put something together. Here is Linda's prayer article. So see, one page, it's in a predictable spot every time. We try to put it in the same even page layout. So when we're putting together, when you're designing, when you're creating your magazine, you want to be mindful of that, having solid features as well as standing columns that all tie back into that mission statement. And theme is another thing that we talk about. We had talked about software. Now, software for magazines can be anywhere from high end to low end, depending on what you are, what you want to do, who's on your team. It'd be nice if we all had our own designers, but the beautiful thing about this time and season is we do have programs like Canva that help us do some layouts, and we have, even Word has some pretty layouts that you can go. So you don't really have to remake the wheel. And a magazine can be as simple as, one of the things that, I spend 90% of my time on the magazine picking great photos. I tell you what, great photos, taking time to look for great photos is so important. So doing that is very, because of the nature of magazines, unlike books, is very pictorial. So you want to have great photos. So basic structure, basic content, simple. Everyone that asks me, do I have to have a Mac? Okay, no. No, you don't have to have a Mac. I'd like to say that just because I have an Apple on my computer, I'm somewhat more of a ritzy person, but you can do, the person who actually physically works with me, Tom, as my assistant copy editor and layout editor, he has a PC, and he has the Adobe Creative Cloud. Now we work with that, which is the highbrow, you can see my top hat, the highbrow, high-end format that we use. But there are other things. There's page, gosh, what is it now? Oh, goodness. Stink.
It'll come to you later.
It'll come to me.
It will.
So there are other EPUB programs that you can get. The one thing that you need to make sure that you're thinking about is magazines are done with a certain page count to enable this front fold cover and the back fold cover. So like 32 page, you know, you really want to be able to, what I'd like to do, and I invite you guys to make sure that you're thinking about this. If I'm going to, could I effectively print this out, or could someone download it if they wanted to physically use it? Because 9 times out of 10, if you're going to create an ezine, somebody's going to print it out.
Yeah.
So, and you know, I like to be able to have it usable for people who want to do small groups, or any type of setting where you want people to use your stuff. So make it usable, make it printable. So whatever layout program you're using, as I said, make sure those pages, 32 page, whatever, if somebody's going to print it out, you want to make it sure the best format is to make it 8.5 by 11, so it'll print on a printed piece of paper. Now we have, I always say the rule of is iIssue. I love iIssue. I've been using it a long time. It's a free platform, issuu.com. And I encourage a lot of people to get on that. I have seen how iIssue has transitioned over the years to add features, and thinking in this world of ezine as everything is multimedia. Everything is multimedia. So in iIssue, they have some amazing tools in that, where you can not only embed video, you can embed, you can also click page counts, you can have ads where you're going directly to purchased items and stuff like that. So you can have interactive content. Now it has a feature where it is mobile friendly. So, you know, it's very hard to pull this and to transition this into here and be readable. But iIssue now has a great feature in that, and I'm not doing a plug for iIssue, but I think I should be getting some money for this, because I've sent them a lot of stuff. But it does mobile friendly views. iIssue does. They also have article stories, which is a new feature, which it makes a more artistic treatment of your article, where it makes the photos more prominent and has some bells and whistles to it. So that
is really interesting to hear. Two kind of questions on that. You do both print and then you do online. Mm-hmm. And do we have to do both? Is there an advantage or disadvantage? Somebody had asked that earlier, of either one, and I'm just curious what your opinion on that is. And then when it comes, does it come like as a PDF, or how is it delivered?
Okay, so print and the beautiful thing about iIssue is if anybody goes to iIssue, they can request a printed copy from iIssue. You can monetize from that, but there is something still about the tactile, unless you're Bethany and you have an allergic reaction to paper and ink. There's something about the tactile touch of paper and connecting with people. You know, generally people get eye fatigue, and that's why you guys still do print books. Let's face that. But having something that's printable also makes it shareable in a small group setting. If you're wanting to take it into a church, if you're wanting to hand things out to your hand things out in a speaking session, if you're wanting to have things available Also, it also makes, your ministry kind of connect together, and you're like, oh, here, have this. I can't do that with my website. I can't do that with a digital magazine. In fact, that's the greatest challenge of digital magazines, is the pass on value. I hardly want to put an iPad in every doctor's waiting room that I go and visit and let them pick that up and read my magazine. But yet, I don't have as much of a problem putting my magazine down and letting it be there. So having that is just a great thing to have. So if you want, like, hey, I've even printed out a few pages of a magazine and just like did a mini mag version of my digital piece and said, hey, you want to check out my magazine? Here's a sample, and it's like 3 or 4 or 5, it's how many pages you want to print out, and you just give them a sample. And it's kind of like a unique business card. People still use some paper business cards, so it's kind of just having that to hand to them. So the value of print is still very, very viable as far as promotions and everything that is involved in that. So that's valuable. And I'm trying to think, I know I didn't answer one of the questions.
Does it arrive as a PDF? Or how it's delivered?
Okay, so if you have a paid subscription on an issue, you can have a downloadable, like they can download your PDF automatically from iIssue. Now, before we had a paid subscription for Leading Hearts to iIssue, we were using the free version, we would PDF the magazine and just put it as a download on our website. So that is that bit, whether it's a PDF or it's actually, iIssue will physically print a magazine and staple it for you, and staple it for the person who buys it and sends it to them. I mean, you can get pretty pricey per issue when you work with iIssue. They will, because print magazines and single print on demand magazines they're expensive. So you might be spending, $15 for a magazine, for a print copy of a magazine that's printed at magazine quality to have it through iIssue. But the thing about it is, because it's through iIssue, they do all that work. And it's kind of what I love about them, is it's not a glorified, you don't have to have that upfront cost. You don't have to print out 160,000 copies or 10,000 or even one copy. You can say, okay, my magazine's up there and here's the PDF version, and if you want to print it, here's the service in which you go to. And iIssue also offers subscriptions, so you can funnel all that through there too. So if you want to set up actually pricing for your magazine, if you actually, iIssue will do promotion for your magazine. You can do set up advertising campaigns, because that's one of the things about magazines, as we know for books, is you can have a great magazine but not have the distribution. So you want to make sure you have some money. It's hard to say. A lot of people want to do, I want to do this magazine. I don't have money for design, let alone promotion. Well, why do it? You need to really make sure, if you're going to do something, if it's going to be ministry related, you're going to want to put some money behind it. You're going to put some development dollars. You're going to want to put some marketing dollars behind it, and you're going to want to have that available for an ongoing amount. And advertising in other publications, you want to have that. You want to have that time. So don't think you're getting off. Don't just. If you're going to do something with full effort and with some investment in mind. What are you going to invest? What are you going to do to make this successful? Because I guarantee you, if you do 3 or 4 issues and you're just like, this is not doing what I want it to do, and it's not worth it, well, what have you invested in it? So think about that as far as
commitment. Make the commitment.
Yeah.
Sounds like. So, can you print a magazine quarterly instead of monthly?
Yes,
what do you think about that? Okay.
Okay, so you can print a magazine, and the beauty of that, if it's done in the right format, as I said, page count, you have to consider that. So you're going to design a magazine, design it in print specs instead of just online. You can print it once a year. This goes out once a year. This is an annual issue going once a year. We distribute it at conferences. So this is the big we actually print Leading Hearts 6 times, not print Leading Hearts, we actually distribute Leading Hearts 6 times a year. And we also create, like for our ladies that are on the cover, we create supplemental versions of this magazine where they have their content in it, and it's a mini version, and it promotes what they're doing. So there's various formats of this magazine that goes out. Like probably, I would say at least 7 to 8 issues a year that are on the web. On going out online. As I said, so we have a version. So we have a version of Bethany's and Michelle's that has that has just their content in it. That is like a what I call it's a showcase or an author profile magazine edition. So you can choose the frequency that you want. The beauty and the beauty of not mailing out is we post office to get periodicals postage. That's a whole new ball game. You don't probably want to dip my toe into this. I don't want to talk about nonprofit mailing and periodicals postage. You probably don't want to hear about that. But you have to have a certain volume. You have to have expected frequency. So that is another layer of the cake that, as I said, you probably don't want here right now. Anything else that you want to?
All right. Rhonda asked something very early on about Leading Heart magazine. That does it accept queries, or is it just ASA? And how do they get a list of upcoming topics that you might be open for queries on?
Yeah. Actually, Rhonda, we do cater to ASA. So an ASA membership is $40 a year. I tell people if you're not an ASA, then why not? Because it does open up publishing opportunities for you, like with our daily devotions and our magazine. We see this as a value and a voice to our ladies who are being published, and we want their voices to be prominent. So we create the leadership magazine for them, but their voice in them, and they're being represented in that promotional capacity. So Rhonda, if you're not an ASA, why not?
She is.
Oh yeah, okay. Well, then, Rhonda, anybody who wants to connect with me, you can email me. In fact, I'll put. Are you guys putting the links or something in the description or any of this that people can connect with me directly if they want to make some
Melissa, when you post that, can we put her email in there? In the description when we post it on the website, when we post it on the Facebook page?
Whatever you want. If I can, I don't know if I have all that information.
Yeah, we'll make sure you get all that. So whenever we do that, I'll make sure you have that. So
Thank you.
But leadinghearts.com, you guys, if you want to go there, one of the things before, any research is so important. So if you check us out, become familiar with what some of the articles that we accept and stuff. It's very geared toward empowering Christian women leaders, and not necessarily leaders that are like on the pulpit, but also women who need to know that they are called into leadership wherever they are. So that's an exciting, and opens the gamut up to a lot of different topics and thoughts. So yeah.
That sounds great and stuff. Bethany, what do you got? What questions you got for us?
I have one thing I was thinking about, but then Isabel asked if ASA was open to non-US citizens because she is in France.
Yes, it is actually. It is open to, and go to the ASA, AWSA dot, oh, no, never mind, let me just switch that up. Apply ASA, APPLY, AWSA.com is the going, you apply for membership, but you can find out about ASA on AWSA.com. So love it, love this organization. I love that we are actually women sharpening women and mentoring and building that network, because ladies, if you're wanting to create something like this, ASA is a great place to find women in network. And I know we're doing introductions on our ASA members page right now and learning a lot about, and it's amazing though, when you start networking, how you find those people who are like on the same page, going the same direction, and you never know what kind of divine connections that God can put in those moments. So that's really cool.
And like you said, they have some wonderful opportunities that come along on,
Yeah.
on that you would not have heard about if you weren't listening and being connected with one another. So they super organization.
Yeah, it's so exciting. I do actually the brand management and marketing for ASA, and have transitioned from just doing the magazine to actually being my primary client. So it's exciting. I love to be able to make those, and I also mentor the protege groups for the ladies who have not published yet. They're kind of getting their feet wet in the publishing world. So I love doing that. I love having conversations like these where I'm bringing people like Bethany in and to talk to the ladies and to inspire. And so that's a great, it's a great play. Not just because it's a group that you go to, it's just, it's really like a sisterhood, because we're like a sister mob. We have each other's back.
And always prayer. That organization
that is
soaked in prayer.
Yes, we have and Linda, who is our founder, is totally, and we are always praying for each other. In fact, that's one of our big loops, is we put prayer requests out too. And stuff.
I think so too. Hey, I got just a couple background questions on magazines and e-zines. Okay, your 2-page feature. You've got to know about a word count, automatic word count for that. And then it's kind of like, we know when we publish books, we know about how many words to always produce a book. So you talked about a 32-page layout. What if we don't want to do 32? Can we do a 16-page layout? Or
yeah.
what's some variables that we could do? Because this sounds almost too much for me at first. So is there a little way to start?
Of course. The funny thing is, I do a magazine for a media ministry out in the Philippines, actually, and they train digital missionaries across Asia Pacific. And I do a 16-page magazine for them, but it is TV guide style. So the articles in there are about 300 words max.
Okay.
And I embed videos. So what I do, very clever, I take transcription from videos and I put it in a written article, and then I have the digital going alongside that. And it is the pairing of the written world with the word getting in people in the digital world, and working together. So I love print. I love print and digital together. I think it's really cool of how this world has come into, authors have to be multimedia. Journalists have to be multimedia. There is no one-shot pony in this world. So, you can create, if you want to create a little 6-page ditty, or that you want, and it's your magazine, it's your little blogazine, it's your thought. One of the things that you can do that. One of the things I recently created, actually a few months ago, for I don't know if you guys know Monica Schmelter. I do all her branding. for her stuff. And I created she had this thing called beauty breaks, and it was like little thoughts, like cards. We made them like beauty cards, but they had her show, a little talking point from the show, and a scripture verse on those. We actually physically made a little magazine out of just little scripture cards and pictures. And so that was like, we did, every magazine was a show, like each show had like a four episodes. So we did four 2-page sections in that, and with a cover and a back, and we embedded actually each episode in those little talking points. So it wasn't really, if you would say that is magazine format, that is taking it a little bit out of the norm and doing something that's a little bit different.
Especially if it's an evergreen content that you could use off and on as handing out, like you said, to a group or to a speaking group. Yeah.
And it's amazing. I always say blogs are beautiful, but a little EPUB is like putting a little suit on your blog with the photos and how they lay together and even if you want to go back through the dusty archives of things written before and make them and represent them in like a journal type piece, that's just like, hey, I'm going to take everything I've ever written about being a stressed out mom and do the teen years. And I'm going to take these 3 or 4 articles over this period of time and refresh it and put it into a little magazine type format. You can do that. And it's a beautiful thing, because it makes something, not only does it make something in capsule form that's representative, you can take, it repurposes content and revitalizes, breathes fresh air into that content. So don't look at something as I'm creating all this new, and it's you can go back and look things and do things topical. Topical is really good. People are looking for topical breakdowns of things, and you don't have to have a 1,500 word or 15,000 word manuscript or 5,000 word manuscript to get it. So think about that. Think about content for EPUB in that way.
Bethany and I were just talking about repurposing yesterday, weren't we, Bethany? And wouldn't this be an idea that you could take?
I was thinking that. I mean, like, I love that you said it was topical, because I was thinking, you could do this if you have books already. You could have like a little mini magazine that you created there with some like evergreen content and cornerstone content that you can drive people to, especially being able to put videos that you've got in there. And then my mom does these little like mini mags for her books that like their person does, which is I think a brilliant idea. I mean, there's so many ways that you could go with this. I think this is like really, even if you're not going to do like a monthly or quarterly magazine, it's still something you can do for your brand. Yeah. Fantastic.
Well, it's exciting. It's exciting too. Think about a little EPUB. A lot of times people are doing study guides and doing a lot of, they're like, oh, I'd like to have a study guide with this. And maybe the publisher you're going with, or you don't have the money to put all of that as a printed piece. Well, maybe you want to do a little EPUB that's 6 pages of content or whatever to accentuate your book project. Or maybe you want to do have a concentrated place where here you have your book. Maybe you want to have a feature article on somebody from your book. Maybe you want to have an excerpt. Maybe you want to put that there. Maybe you want to put that in EPUB form, and maybe you want to have a few pages after that EPUB where people can print it out and journal or do some Bible study type things. One of the things that we used to do with OnCourse is, since it was a youth magazine, we used to have printables that we had with the magazine where campus people kids who were running Bible clubs could take it into their Bible study, their groups, and print out pages, and kids could actually physically write on something and take away. So it's a great if you consider, and I don't know if you guys know or have talked a lot about macro and micro content as far as social media and stuff like that, but if you consider EPUBs to and doing an EPUB as a micro content of a macro book, then you can generate what in the end of the day, you want people interacting with your content. If you have a book on a shelf, that's nice. You read it once and there it's gone. But if you want people sticking with your content, if you want people, they take things in bites and they take repetitive messages. So, and they take repetitive visuals. And it's basically a marketing principle called the stickiness factor that if you've ever read anything by Malcolm Gladwell, he talks about. It talks about purposing content in multiple formats and multiple ways to have a message stick with someone. So little EPUBs are a great way to do that. It's also a great way to, when you go from even social media, you go from a pin to getting people to read your blog, to getting people to read maybe an EPUB, to getting people to read your book. So think of that, taking people on the journey to get to know you. And you'll have people on the journey that only want to read the meme. You'll have people on the journey that want to read your blog. They'll have people on the journey. And then, the buy-in for a book. Because a book takes a whole lot more of a commitment than a blog. But it's exciting because you can introduce a lot of concepts in an EPUB that a book would, but in a very small bite-sized way. So that's
this could be a whole workshop at a writer's workshop. This EPUB idea to repurpose your content and to...
Oh, I could do a whole thing on repurposing content.
I just think you could take that's been priceless.
I tell people, because I work with authors in repurposing content, and I tell them, memes you can repurpose them into business cards. You know that, don't you? You can repurpose that into content that people can print out and take with them. So there's a lot of ways to think about repurposing content, especially between print and digital, and so there and getting things to bite-size pieces and getting people to put those in their hands and really physically connect with what you have to say.
And this group is always looking for new marketing ideas.
Yeah. One of the biggest things I create for authors, besides their book covers, I create pop-up banners. I have a company that does all the print kind of work to help that, and I'll take people's pop-up banners and I'll create bookmarks for them. So you really have to kind of look at things in really new and different ways. If you have an article from someone in your book that is a chapter, why don't you take one of that and make it into your, make little magazine features from that one person, and then have a tip list, maybe something that doesn't fit your book format in that. So EPUBs you can get really, really, really creative with, because it is number one, when you're working with the digital format, you have a little bit more flexibility, and you also have the multimedia aspect of it. So I'd encourage, if you come away with anything from this talk, is multimedia, multi-purpose, multi-sized content is your best friend. And whatever you put that in, yes.
This has just been great today. Thank you. We'll invite everybody to come on back on, because we're almost to the top of the hour here, and see if there's any last minute questions. Bethany, do you have anything as we start to wrap up here a little bit that you want to wrap up with?
I'm just super excited about this. Like Gina and I were talking about repurposing content, and I think that needs to be one of our upcoming episodes too. And like even just getting some ideas from you, Amber, on like the breakdowns and things. I mean, you can even take the videos. If you're doing video series, like we did the Platinum Faith Summit, book or not book, but that could be the video that goes in there with that article. I just think like there was so much in here. I'm like, is anyone else excited to just like go create things? Like I am. I guess my last question, I guess for the recording is, to monetize with iIssue, do they keep a portion and they give you a percentage if people are going there to purchase, or how do you monetize with them?
They basically, if you're going through iIssue, you can set your subscription prices. You can actually print from a secondary source and distribute but you can monetize. Just like, I don't know how many of you guys, do you guys do merch through Teespring at all? Bethany, do you guys do merch? Have you and Michelle done merchandising through like Teespring? Do you know how that works?
I've not gone that far with them.
Okay. Well, basically you set your prices, you set your price, and then you decide what your profit is. So, and the beautiful thing is, I think you can set, well, I don't think on iIssue you can set sales. That's why I like Teespring. By the way, I design clothes. I design shirts. That's one of the things, you know, that's multi-purpose content right there, ladies. You can do so many things with the printed, whether it be design, you can, you know, with a publication and stuff. But with iIssue, they don't let you set. I think you can set some pricing. I would need to dig into that a little bit deeper to find out all the intricacies, but I know you can sign up for subscriptions. I know you can do preview issues, which means you can show people a couple pages of what you've done and then say, okay, then you have to buy to get the rest of this content. So
so many ideas. I love it.
You can do that with your digital magazine. You don't even have to print it. You can say, I'm going to show this much of my digital magazine, and then I'm going to sell the rest of it. So you can do that with iIssue.
Wow. I just love all these ideas we've got today. Thank you. Thank you, Amber. While we still got the recording to go, I've got to say real quick what next week is, and then we'll see if there's any final questions on that. Hope Bollinger will be with us next week. She's an agent with Kyle, and she's going to talk a lot about meeting with agents at writers' conferences, tricks and tips on all that. Because I met, or meeting even with editors at writers' conference. I just met with 4 last week, and I still get nervous every time, you guys. Pit in my stomach. And but she says she just loves that topic, so I'm excited. We haven't had her on for a while, and she has a new book coming out too, so we'll give her a little publicity on her new book. So we're glad to have there. We're just a few minutes over, but any last minute quick question while we're still got the recording? If not, we'll have Amber stay on for a few minutes afterwards. Okay, again, thank you, Amber, very, very much for being with us. So many ideas. I love it. It was something totally different for our group to hear and really deeper on that.
I would encourage you guys, please check out leadinghearts.com, which is our magazine, as well as we have our magazine mobile delivers. We have, if you text Leading Hearts to all one word to 64600, it's delivered right to your mobile device. Another little thing.
Text it to
you text Leading Hearts, all one word, to 64600.
Okay.
Which mobile delivery is a whole new thing I could talk about, but we don't have time for that.
Wow. And we'll be sure your email, and maybe we could even get this text connection in the description of the blog when we post the video from today.
Awesome. That would be fantastic.
So people can have that to contact you. Thank you again. Please stay on, everybody that's here. Please stay on for a few minutes, and we'll have we call it our after party, Amber. We'll have our after party, and am I supposed to go get a pina colada or something? I love it. A little early here, but we can do it. I love it. I love it. Thank you, everybody, for being with us today. And Amber, again, thank you.
It's so exciting.
So many creative ideas and stuff like that. All right. Bye, everybody.
Bye.